And here we are. Hello again from Fired Up. I'm your host for the show, Bob Irwin, broadcasting from Rigel Studios here in Las Vegas, Nevada. This show is about guns, related politics, and self-defense issues. Fired Up is on my website, Fired Up with Bob Irwin, as well as the American Guns and Glory Network, separately on YouTube and numerous other media. If your local internet provider does not carry Fired Up, ask them to do just that. A new show is posted every Thursday around 5 p.m. Pacific time. Our audio feed is rebroadcast for radio listeners on Saturdays at noon on the Nevada Talk Network. Please check out KELY1230.com for a station in your area of Nevada. If you have questions or comments, you can send an email to bob@firedupmail.com. That's bob@firedupmail.com, or leave a message on my office recorder, which is 702-257-1060. Again, that's 702-257-1060. If you don't leave contact information, I can't call you back. There are several hundred defensive uses of firearms each week in the United States, rarely truthfully or fully covered by mainstream media. I always select a few for each show for my listeners' education. Most are good shootings, some are questionable, sometimes they're just plain wrong, but all are educational for those of you who keep a defensive firearm in your home or carry one for self-defense in your vehicle or on the street. Individual incidents, understand, are generally adjudicated under local law. The advice given here may not apply in the area where you live. Get advice from a local gun-savvy defense attorney. They are always recommended if you're involved in an actual case. Stories are often paraphrased for clarity by translation by me from police jargon, what I call lawyer speak, and regional accents into more standard American English. The incidents I use here are as reported, but the names of individuals involved are deleted. That is, the good guys and bad guys, sometimes there's no good guy, sometimes there's no bad guy, they're always deleted. I usually use their age or something to fill in that blank. The identification of the cops, the lawyers, and media generally are used. With that all said, my 2-minute preamble, this first story comes from the Chicago Tribune, a journalist named Catherine Rosenberg Douglas. She reported October 15, 2020, a 59-year-old man was walking in the 8500 block of South Colon Avenue in the Scottsdale neighborhood on the far south side of Chicago. I presume if you're around Chicago, you know where that Scottsdale neighborhood is. According to a police media notification, at about 9:45 in the evening, two males, each about 16 to 20 years old, approached this 59-year-old and demanded his property. Unbeknownst to the robbers, the man had a legal concealed handgun on him at the time. Kelly Bartoli, a police spokesperson, said the first male pointed a loaded weapon at the man while the second male told the 59-year-old to hand over his belongings. The second attacker then took the victim's phone. Because no one had been arrested, the police would not say what kind of phone it was. They have really weird rules in Chicago, apparently. Anyway, Bartoli said in an email Thursday, the first male shot the victim in the left thigh. He was taken to Advocate Christ Medical Center in Oak Lawn, where he was listed in good condition. It wasn't clear why the gunman shot the man, despite the victim having complied with the demand for his property. He handed over his stuff and the guy shot him anyway. Bartoli, citing an ongoing investigation, declined to say if the man drew his own weapon before he was shot. They don't want to give out a lot of information in Chicago. Bartoli added, that the robbers fled, the man with the concealed weapon shot at least once in their direction. She was quoted as saying the victim returned fire but did not strike the suspects. Bartoli would not specify how many rounds he fired or whether there was any damage to nearby property. You're getting the way they write police reports here? The physical description of the attackers and the clothing they were last seen wearing was not released. So how do we catch them? Anyway, as of this report, no arrests have been made. There's a real surprise at the end of this story, huh? The city of Chicago is the murder capital of the Midwest. Hundreds shot, dozens murdered each month. Most are in the same as this incident. People killed for no apparent reason. The city government lost control decades ago. Corruption is rampant. Politicians get rich. Police, fire, and emergency medical get city budget cuts. Chicago is truly a lost city. If you watch any national news, you will always see Chicago in the top of the crime rate. I don't know how we change that unless the state, perhaps, of Illinois takes over and fires the whole city government. Probably not practical under today's conditions. Anyway, I wanted to make a note here on this show of lost friends this week. Gene Altabella is a Henderson locksmith. He was a deputy constable and a bailiff for the Boulder City Court. Passed away last week. He was an incredible friend that I worked with for 20 years. His lock shop, more or less a castle just off Boulder Highway, has been a local landmark for decades. Gene was involved in hundreds of things throughout Henderson, through his church, and the Nevada Constables Association, so forth and so on. He's always helpful. He will be sorely missed. Charles Weekland, another old friend, was also lost this week. Charlie helped me set up Fired Up with Bob Irwin as a radio, TV, and internet show. His knowledge of computers was essential to get broadcasts up and running. As regular listeners know, I can't even operate my phone, let alone the equipment was used to get fired up on the air. He was always there when needed. He now recently sends out hilarious emails, generally about talking police dogs that are shown growling at suspects saying, "You run, I chase." They kept me laughing forever. Fond memories. There's a special place in heaven for these gentlemen. I'm at that age where I go to way more funerals than weddings anymore. We're going to break here for a few words from our friends and associates. I'll be right back. Freestyle Martial Arts, located at Jones and Russell here in Las Vegas. You can reach them at 702-551-9009. That's 702-551-9009. CCS Gunsmithing. Chris Eifelt, the man who does all the NRA help, he's at 2216 South Rainbow Boulevard near Sahara. He can be reached at 702-365-1732. Once again, 702-365-1732. Jerry Creed, a trust attorney. If you have a firearms trust or need one, this is your guy. You can reach Jerry at 702-806-7777. That is 702-806-7777. CCW Maggie is found all over the internet. You can reach her by phone at 702-375-5900. That's 702-375-5900. All sorts of firearms training, ladies only classes. She is the best of the best. Call CCW Maggie. And I'm back. This third story comes from WTVY Virtual Channel 4. This is by journalist Kinsley Centers, it's an affiliate of CBS. Reported October 14, 2020 in Dothan, D-O-T-H-A-N, Alabama. The Houston County Sheriff's Office provided additional details today in a shooting over the weekend that led one man to his death. On the previous Sunday, October 11, around 2 in the early morning, the Houston County Sheriff's Office received a call for a possible burglary in progress on Nomad Circle in the Kinsey area. It's apparently a neighborhood that people are familiar with in that area. Investigators found the 38-year-old intruder was armed and had parked about 90 to 100 feet from the home. When he entered the home, he was met by a male resident who fired multiple times. Sheriff Donald Vanzella said no charges will be filed in the case because the 34-year-old intruder was trying to break into a home when he was shot by the homeowner. Sheriff Valenza said the motive is unclear, but the suspect and the resident knew each other. He told media when the subject breached the house, he and the resident male engaged. He uses that throughout his report, the word engage. In context, it sounds like they got into a physical fight. So I'm presuming that that's what it means. Anyway, he and the resident male engaged, and the intruder was shot. Rescue arrived and transported the 34-year-old intruder to a medical center where he was treated. Sheriff Valencia said the 34-year-old intruder died on Tuesday, October 13th, so this would be a few days later. No one else in the home was injured. The sheriff said this is an ongoing investigation. The suspect was no stranger to law enforcement. He'd been arrested more than 20 times. He was currently on federal probation. The sheriff added that this is the 6th Castle Doctrine case in Houston County since 2007. That doctrine says a person is justified in using physical force upon another person in order to defend himself or herself or a third person when they believe they are in imminent danger. Comments on this is, I can't imagine somebody being that age and having 20 arrests. The apparent career criminal finally met his match. The inevitable results of decades of catch and release policies. He finally meets an intended victim who is prepared. Clearly a good shooting almost anywhere in America. Another of the hundreds of incidents wherein the intended victim had not been armed, he would likely have been killed. If, like in this incident, an armed intruder breaks into your house, do you have the tools, the will, and the skill to keep yourself and loved ones safe? Training and practice are required. You can go to Amazon Kindle and buy my latest book, Self-Defense with Firearms, Use of Force in Nevada. It will give you the basics anyway on most all these details that will get you started on finding good training and a good attorney to have on your speed dial. Fourth story, WMDT-TV, a journalist named Shara Ash, this is Virtual Channel 47, which is an ABC affiliate, reported October 13, 2020 in Smyrna, Delaware. The Delaware State Police are investigating a home invasion that took place at a Smyrna residence Friday night. The incident happened just before 11 in the evening at a residence on Wheatley's Pond Road. It was reported that a suspect forced entry into the home and was confronted by an 87-year-old homeowner who is the victim here. The victim reportedly had a handgun and extended it towards the intruder. The intruder was able to take the gun away from the victim before fleeing on foot in an unknown direction. The intended victim was not injured in the incident. The suspect is described as an unknown male dressed in all dark clothing. They'll find him right away. Police are asking anyone with information on this incident to contact Detective Weinstein at 302-698-8443 or Delaware Crime Stoppers at 1-800-TIP-3333. This story, it kind of struck home. We all have family members or neighbors who fit the description of this elderly victim. Perhaps some intervention is needed to get him or her a more usable defensive weapon, or a plan to simply call 911 and hide or slip out the back rather than confront an intruder. This elderly victim was truly lucky to have survived this encounter. I did a lot of research into this, and there is a solution. So you buy them one of those I've fallen and I can't get up devices that automatically calls a live operator to request help. That allows the elderly relative to live alone safely without feeling they are a burden to their family. If they hit the button and no response is offered when asked for their code number, the operator will send police and paramedics to the location automatically. In researching this, I called Life Alert. Their number is 877-999-5456 for what their programs do and pricing. There are lots of providers for these services, but these guys seem to be the best in the business. Again, that's 877-999-5456. Probably not cheap, but if you call that number, you will get somebody on the line who will explain to you how the program works and how it's available in different areas, because they're almost nationwide, or they are nationwide. And the response depends, of course, on the rural or local reactability, how far the home is from the nearest ambulance or police department, and so forth and so on. But this I'm not on commission from these guys, but I've heard of them, and I think it's a great solution for your elderly person who is going to, is not able to fend for themselves, but they insist on living alone. There's a lot of us old grumpy people like that do that sort of thing. Anyway, now we're going to break again for a few words from some of our friends and associates. We'll be right back. My latest book, Self-Defense with Firearms, Use of Force in Nevada, is now available on Amazon Kindle for $4.95. You can download it now. It contains examples of dozens of shootings and pointing a firearm cases that I personally experienced in my 24 years in law enforcement, or where I testified in court or deposition as a firearm and use of force expert. The book is about the use of firearms in defense of yourself and others in my home state of Nevada. I have appeared as an expert witness in Nevada courts dozens of times, and that experience has shown me the necessity of putting pen to paper once again. Nevada state law as printed can be misleading to those of you who read it, as it is written in legal jargon, what I usually call lawyer speak. These statutes are also bent or even broken by the courts in their everyday decisions that we generally call case law. Those are rulings that say this or that statute does not apply in a particular incident and similar cases. That causes the law you are depending on when you make a decision to use your firearm only partially or not apply at all to your actions. Relevant Nevada statute numbers are included here and there, so readers may look up current wording on the Nevada State website. teaching firearms in 28 law enforcement academies, including cadets from 26 different Nevada agencies, personally instructing over 30,000 concealed firearm permit students and 20,000 private security officers, I've discovered a lot of commonalities in deadly force incidents. Less than 100 pages, this book offers advice that can save lives and costs of expensive defense lawyers to reduce your losses in the inevitable civil lawsuits that follow these incidents. Get a copy, learn how to avoid, prepare for, and react to life-threatening situations. Story number 5. This is Fox 43 TV. A journalist named Carolyn Blackburn reported October 19, 2020 in Paradise Township, Pennsylvania. A 72-year-old Vietnam veteran held a home invasion suspect at gunpoint until the troopers arrived. He was on the phone with 911 as the suspect allegedly broke a window to get into his home in the Poconos. The state police in Stroudsburg said the intruder was under the influence of drugs when he broke through into the home in Paradise Township about 4:45 p.m. Sunday, 4 in the afternoon. The homeowner, a Vietnam War veteran, said he was able to keep calm because of his time in the war. The 72-year-old veteran was sitting in his chair in his living room when he saw a man outside and opened the door to talk to him. The vet said the guy at the door didn't make a lot of sense. He asked if you would please call the police, please call the police. They're going to kill me. So the vet said okay and called 911. The state police said the 38-year-old guy was on the porch, was from Bronx, New York. He was worried a gang was after him. The 72-year-old vet had him wait outside on his front steps as he called 911. The vet added, I called the state police, called 911, I'm talking to them, I'm in the garage, and I hear this crash in the house. The 30-year-old guy had crashed through a window into the home. The man didn't get any further than that. The vet reacted. I had the pistol cocked and ready, and I was standing there in the kitchen. The 38-year-old was held at gunpoint by the 72-year-old Vietnam vet for 10 minutes until the state police arrived. The vet said he was able to keep his composure because of experience in the war. The vet said, when I come under fire, how will I react? Will it scare me to death? Will I be able to react? None of us ever really know that for sure. But yes, experience helps. I was so happy yesterday I didn't have to pull the trigger. I do not want to do that again. The 38-year-old was charged with criminal trespass, simple assault, and criminal mischief. He was taken to Monroe County Correctional Facility, held on $100,000 bail. Never underestimate an elderly veteran. I know lots of folks in this age range, combat veterans, retired law enforcement, and professional security who keep up their skills and have the training to react forcefully and quickly. Don't underestimate us old guys. There. Story number 6, and this is going to probably run us a little bit over our schedule. It is, yes. CarsonNow.org, a journalist named Jeff Munson, reports on October 19, 2020, in Carson City, Nevada, a 24-year-old man was arrested early Saturday on suspicion of felony home invasion. The 24-year-old subject was arrested a few minutes after 5 in the morning in the 300 block of Corbett Street. According to the booking report, the deputies were dispatched to an area for a report of a home invasion in progress. The homeowner informed dispatch that he had the suspect on the ground at gunpoint and that they were in the backyard. The male suspect was located on the ground, bleeding from the face near to a sliding back door. He had a strong odor of alcohol on his person. was placed in handcuffs and escorted out of the backyard. He was read his Miranda warning and stated he'd be willing to speak. This 24-year-old suspect was asked what happened, and he stated he had been in a fight with his buddies earlier that night, and that's where, in fact, the injuries were from. When asked what he was doing in the backyard on Corbett Street, the 24-year-old stated he thought he was still at a downtown Carson City bar. The officers made contact with a homeowner who stated he was awakened by a noise at his sliding back door. He went to see what was going on and observed this 24-year-old forcefully trying to open the door. He stated he ordered the man to stop and leave. He said each time he ordered the man to leave, the guy continued to attempt to open the sliding door. The homeowner said he retrieved his .22 caliber pistol and showed it to the suspect. I guess showed it means pointed, I don't know. But anyway, he said then he fired one round into a doggy door to scare this male subject away. The homeowner added that after he fired the single round, he went around to the backyard and confronted the male subject, ordering him to the ground. He said he kicked the male subject in the face and attempted to keep the man down until deputies arrived on the scene. The 24-year-old suspect was taken to a Carson Tahoe hospital, I can say that. He was taken to Carson Tahoe Hospital for medical clearance. A single gunshot wound was discovered on the top of his left foot. The single gunshot was the warning shot fired by the homeowner. The suspect was medically cleared and taken to jail. He was booked for home invasion, a felony offense with bail set at $25,000. Comments here. To clear the first point up for non-Nevada folks, our state capital, Carson City, is not part of any other county, but rather an independent city, much like Washington, D.C. is not part of Virginia or so forth. It's a separate city with its own police department and so forth that is run by the state directly. In this incident, I cannot imagine the 24-year-old invader was this drunk. It's almost got to be some serious mental illness or personality disorder. In any case, his failure to respond to commands does not justify kicking him in the face. If your opponent is trying to leave, let him go. Try to let responding officers do the capturing. I expect a lawsuit lawyer will pick up on this incident rather quickly. His case could be boosted by assault charges filed against a resident for shooting and stomping this apparently totally drunk would-be home invader. Do we all understand what happened here? That the resident let the cops do the chasing. That's all I can tell you. If somebody is in your home, they run outside, let them go. To chase them down is an absolute grievous error. I've got an extra story here I'm going to save for next week because it needs a little bit of work anyway. But I want to address a couple of things at the end here. Let me get down in my scrolling to where I'm going. There we are. Okay. Wow. I got a big gap here. Okay. You can check out my recent shows at firedupwithboberwin.com. It contains several dozen episodes. Please patronize our friends and supporters. I'll be back next Thursday on my website, firedupwithboberwin.com, the American Guns and Glory Network, and numerous other websites, television, and radio stations. Remember, when watching any media, just click on subscribe and new shows will be sent to your phone or computer automatically. My logo merchandise, hats, shirts, and mostly books now are available at Battlefield Vegas, just behind Circus Circus on the Las Vegas Strip. If you are ever in Las Vegas, Battlefield Vegas is a must-see attraction. You can shoot a minigun or any of hundreds of firearms, even crush a car with an Abrams tank at their associated outdoor facility. Transportation is provided by Battlefield. Contact info@battlefieldvegas.com. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to vote. Our back is against the wall, folks. I'll be back next week.